fight. Mark a drop point for your squad. You will lead them in.
What's up guys, and welcome back to Software Solutions, and today we're talking about Call of Duty Warzone 2 and its latest updates. Now, something I just want to point out is this over here. It plays a very big role inside your game itself. Now, as you could see in the beginning of my video, I actually did a pre-recording of my settings and everything you can do to your machine to achieve that FPS or even higher FPS than me, because that is the machine I'm running that you saw in the beginning of my video. That is the specs I'm running, and this is what you're going to need to do. Now, a lot of people do recommend that you go ahead and download this driver over here, because Call of Duty is recommending you to go ahead and download this driver over here, which is 526.86, and it apparently runs your FPS a little bit higher and runs the game smoother. Now, with my specific machine, it does not run any better than the latest version, which is this one over here, which is 531.29. This is the latest driver that is out right now, and I run my game perfectly fine with the latest driver. Now, a lot of people have left me comments down below saying that they run a specific driver. Now, it's going to depend on your machine. If you're either going to go back and roll back your NVIDIA drivers to this version, or your AMD to this version. But I recommend that you go ahead and update your graphics card drivers to the latest version. Now, I am an NVIDIA user, so I have this version over here, which is 531.29, and my game runs perfectly fine. So I highly recommend that you go ahead and update your graphics card drivers. It's very important for your machine to stay up to date, not just your graphics card drivers. You're also going to need to go to your settings on your Windows and then update your Windows as well. Keep it up to date on a regular basis. Please go ahead and do this, because your machine needs to stay up to date, your GPU needs to stay up to date, and you also don't want anything running in the background while you are playing Call of Duty Warzone. You don't want stuff running in the background. Like, for instance, I have this wallpaper engine over here running in the background. I'm just going to show you. That's wallpaper engine. I close this when I play my game. It doesn't run in the background because it actually uses my VRAM in the background, because this uses my GPU to run this background app, which is Wallpaper Engine on Steam. So everything that's running in the background, go ahead and close them, and then you won't have any, like, for instance, stutters in your game and stuff like that. So I highly recommend you go ahead and turn shit off that you don't need to be running in the background. Okay, so from here you're going to go to home, and you can actually go to privacy and scroll down over here and go to background apps if you're on Windows 10 like me. And you can actually see all the things that you have installed over here. You might have less than me, or you might have more than me. And then all you're going to need to do is go from on to off and keep this off, and don't let the background apps run in the background while you are playing your game. You want nothing to run in the background to use resources like your RAM and your CPU, and then also your GPU on top of it while you are playing your game. That's most likely why you're getting stutters. It's also most likely why you are losing FPS inside your game. It doesn't matter what settings you change your game to, you're still getting low FPS, because your machine, your Windows, needs to be changed into a certain way of not running stuff in the background and stuff like that, because it does use resources, and you are going to have a shitty gameplay experience. So I highly recommend you go ahead and turn this off over here if you are a Windows 10 user like me. Windows 11 users, you're going to disable these things. Very easy to do, but with Windows 11, it's a bit more complicated, because you have to disable them individually, one by one, and it's quite a hassle. And then something I do also want to point out is this over here. A lot of people are experiencing this. They have Windows 11 installed, and they're doing everything in my videos, and they're still achieving less than 80 FPS inside their game. In the lobby, in the plane, while they're playing the game, and they have better machines than me. Way high-end machines than me. Like, way better machines than me. Now, something I want to point out is this. If you're running Windows 11 and you're having those problems, okay, I do recommend going back to Windows 10. I'm not saying you have to, but try it out. If that actually worked for you, then it means that you shouldn't be on Windows 11. Windows 11 isn't completely optimized because it took Windows 10 a couple of years to get to where it is right now at this very moment, where it's running perfectly fine. So it's going to take Windows 11 some time to get where it needs to be, if you understand my point. Okay, from here you're going to go to home and make sure that you go to gaming over here and then go to game mode. Leave game mode on. It does help with the latest season in Call of Duty and its latest updates. Keep it on. You're going to go to graphics settings over here and make sure you have hardware accelerated GPU scheduling off. Don't have this on. A lot of people make a mistake by turning this on or leaving it on. Turn it off. You do not need this to be on at all while playing the latest version of Call of Duty. From here, you're going to close out of this and you're going to go onto your desktop like this. You're going to right click on your desktop and open up an NVIDIA control panel if you are an NVIDIA user like me. You're going to open up an NVIDIA control panel and go to adjust image settings with preview and have this over here where it says use the advanced 3D image settings and click on take me there. It's basically just going to take you to manage 3D settings. Now I have my settings exactly the same. If you've watched my previous video before, I have my settings exactly the same. If this is your first time viewing my videos, please go ahead and copy all of these settings inside here. You can just pause my video. It's highly recommended that you go ahead and copy this exact same settings as me. Now the reason why I do global settings because I'm going to have comments of people asking me, yo dude, why don't you go to program settings and choose Call of Duty? I go to global settings because this is actually going to help you for every other game you are playing, not just Call of Duty. Try this out for other games as well and you'll see a significantly increase in FPS and your game's running smoother. Right? Shader cache plays a very big role inside this game. Put it on 100 gigs over here. Don't put this on disabled. Don't put this on driver default. Don't put it on unlimited. Put it at 100 gigs. What it's going to do is it's going to help you with stuttering inside the game. I highly recommend that you go ahead and do this. Where it says texture filtering, put this at high performance. All you can do is copy my settings inside here and you should be good to go. Alright, you're going to go to apply these settings and then go to config surround and physics. You're going to go over here. Don't have this at auto select because then it's auto going to select between your GPU and your CPU. You don't want it to do that. You wanted to select your dedicated graphics card that you're running right now at this current moment, which is like 95% of the gaming community in general. They have dedicated GPUs, so select the dedicated GPU you're currently running and say apply. Once you're done with this, you're going to go to adjust desktop color settings and you're going to come inside here. I have mine like this, 50% on the brightness. On the contrast, I have mine at 65%, and then the digital vibrance is my own personal preference, which is 95%. You click on image 3, and you downscale this to see how it goes into black and white, and this actually brings up your digital vibrance in your games, and in every single game you're going to be playing. This will make your games pop, and then also in Call of Duty, you can change the color settings inside there as well to make your game run even better, because you don't want to use NVIDIA filters, because NVIDIA filters intends for FPS loss. Okay, once you're done with this, you're just going to apply these settings. Alright, let's jump straight into the game. Let me show you the settings I'm using right now at this very moment to achieve really good FPS and to run my game at a smooth frame rate and then also let my game run perfectly fine without any stuttering, without any lag or dips or FPS loss and stuff like that. You're going to change your settings to these over here. Right, let's jump straight into the game. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, I'm in my game right now, and I'm doing about 125 to 130 FPS in basically the selection screen of the game. Now, I do way more FPS if I don't record and I don't have stuff running in the background and stuff like that, because I do use wallpaper engine and all those things. So having things running in the background actually does eat VRAM and also uses your graphics card. So I do highly recommend closing every application in the background while playing Call of Duty Warzone. Now, so the first thing I highly recommend you go ahead and do is go to this little gear icon over here, go to graphics, and then go to the quality tab. Now, a lot of people do use a preset over here that would either go to basic, balanced, or ultra. Now, ultra would be people out there that's running a really high-end machine, but people with high-end machines are also struggling with this game, so they do recommend to use balance, or they intend to use balance, because what it will do is it will balance out your quality and it will balance out the performance in the game. So the performance and the quality is really paired up with one another, and the game runs really smooth. Then basic is basically people with a basic system, so like a laptop or a lower generation graphics card with a lower generation CPU, basically a low-end PC, just in general. people will go with basic over here. I do not recommend minimum. Your game's going to look like absolute dog shit. But if you are really into playing Call of Duty Warzone and you have a really low-end machine, I understand, then use minimum. You can use it, but it's not my preference to do. I don't recommend going with minimum. The game actually really looks seriously bad. So don't use this. Go with basic. Try basic out. But if you want to have the best settings inside this game at this very moment, then you're going to go with custom over here, and we're going to customize these things, for instance, like the upscaling, and then every single setting inside the game. Okay, now I'm going to go over the upscaling and sharpening. A lot of people has asked me questions about this, and I'm going to go over it now today. Okay, so now NVIDIA DLSS, a lot of people prefer NVIDIA DLSS over every other upscaling. Now, it's going to be your own personal preference on what you're going to do inside here with the upscaling. I'm just going to recommend to you what I use with my system and what you should be using. Maybe you can try it out. If it doesn't work for you, try something else. You can follow my guidelines as is and try it out. If your game runs perfectly fine, then awesome. Now I'm going to go over all of these things, and then, ladies and gentlemen, if this worked for you, leave a like. I would appreciate if you leave a like on my video and a comment and leave some feedback what worked the best for you. Okay, so NVIDIA DLSS. A lot of people do use this, and a lot of people use it to get more frames out of the game. And then again, a lot of other people left comments on my videos saying NVIDIA DLSS, they lose FPS. Now, okay, NVIDIA DLAA is a completely different thing over here, and I don't recommend using this. I really don't recommend using NVIDIA DLAA. At this very moment, as you can see on the right hand side, it literally tells you what it does. Every single upscaling over here tells you what it does on the right hand side. A lot of people have asked me what's the difference between AMD FSR 1.0 and 2.1. Okay, a lot of people have asked me what's the difference between these two things in my comments. Now, on the right hand side, it literally tells you what this does. So for people out there right now at this very moment playing on mid-tier to basically almost high-end gaming machines, I recommend you go with 1.0 because it's going to let you enable anti-analyzing and anti-analyzing quality. Okay, if you use 2, I recommend that you would use AMD FSR 2.1 if you have a lower generation machine and you're struggling with just in general FPS in this game. Go with AMD FSR 2.1. Okay, go with that, and I would recommend going with that. For me, I have a 9700K, an RTX 2060 OC, and then I have 16 gigs of RAM. Now, my CPU has been overclocked. It's got a water cooling block on it as well. My GPU has been overclocked as well, and my RAM timings are different. So that's why I do this amount of FPS with my rig, because a lot of people complain in my comments saying, how the hell are you getting that FPS if I have a 3080? Or 3070 and you only have a 2060. How is that possible? I do a lot of things like, for instance, like overclocking my graphics card, overclocking my CPU, stuff like that, and it does work wonderful, and it's just a thing on its own, okay? That's for my YouTube members. Now, I use AMD FSR 1.0, and this is the setting I was using. As you could see in the beginning of my video, I actually showed you what FPS I do while playing a quad game, but I was solo queuing, okay? And I shot the guy out the car. That's the FPS I do while I'm playing the game, and the FPS will climb higher if I'm, like, for instance, like in the middle of the buildings and stuff like that. My FPS will climb. Now, it will downscale as well. My FPS will go down depending on how much things needs to be rendered into the game. Now, your FPS will drop even worse if you're using the NVIDIA DLSS, if you're using the video image scaling and you have it at native, okay? Your quality will also drop in general. Your quality, not your FPS, your quality. If you use Fidelity FX Cache, right, and you put this at a certain sharpening, a lot of people prefer Fidelity FX Cache over every other upscaling and sharpening inside this game right now at this very moment. Now, me, personally, I use AMD FSR, and my game runs perfectly fine. You saw the FPS that I'm doing, and I do recommend that you use AMD FSR 1.0. If you're running a lower end machine, you want more FPS out of your game, go with 2.1. It will give you more FPS out of your game. It will try and boost it to its best it can, okay? Anti-analyzing then will be off, and then anti-analyzing quality would be off. But, like I said, I do recommend going with 1.0, and then you go with full make SMAA T2 times, and then ultra quality over here. Okay, not a lot of people do prefer ultra quality because they have lower generation machines. Then I would recommend you go with normal. The game looks perfectly fine with anti-aliasing quality at normal. From here, you're going to go to video memory scale. Now, if you have a 6 gig graphics card or an 8 gig graphics card and higher, I recommend that you go with 90% at the video memory scale. I recommend you go with 90%, because the reason why I'm saying this is because you're going to start changing these things to this. Texture resolution to normal, texture filtering anisotropic to high, nearby level of detail to low, and then distant level of detail to low. Okay, that's what you're going to have your game at. Now, for a lot of people out there that's running lower machines, lower end machines, what you're going to need to do is you're going to change this down to about 70. You can put your own personal input inside here, but I'm just going to make an example. Put it to 70, then go over here, put this at low, put this always at high. Don't ever change this. Don't put this to low, don't put it to normal. You can run normal. There's a slight difference between high and normal though, but you can run normal, just don't go low on this, okay? Never ever go low on this, okay? Low over here, and then short, okay? But I just want to stick to this first before I go down, okay? Now, for people out there that's running a machine like mine, or higher end than mine, I recommend that you go with 90% over here. You go with anti-aliasing to ultra quality, full make SMAA T2 times. You go with AMD FSR 1.0, and then you have this at ultra quality over here. It gives you the best quality in the game, and it will overall give you the best FPS as well inside this game right now with the latest updates. Okay, you're going to have the exact same settings over here, but you're going to go to normal over here, and you're going to have this exactly like mine. Okay, so particle quality at low, you're going to go to particle quality level at very low, bullet impact spray on. This is just damage layers. You can put it on and off at your own personal preference. Shader quality low. It is a FPS hogger. You don't need this thing. Over here, tessellation off, off. Always put it off. Don't fucking put it on. Just leave it off. Please, for the love of fuck, just put this off. You don't need this, okay? Terrain memory, max, always. Unless you got a very minimum spec machine, like a laptop, or a minimum spec desktop machine, you go with minimum, okay? Not max, minimum. You could try medium out. I don't recommend max if you are running a lower end gaming machine. But if you're running something like mine or higher, go with max. On-demand texture streaming, always off. We're not going to go over this. It's a long explanation to tell you what this does. But anyways, just read on the right-hand side what it does, and that's pretty much what it does. Streaming quality at low, volumetric quality. I keep mine normally at medium, but right now with the latest updates and everything that's happening in this game, with the small map that I'm playing on right now, and even the big map, or whatever I'm playing, I keep this at low because it's going to make you lose FPS if you put this up. Right? Physics quality, you can completely turn this off. You don't need this. Water, you don't need this to be on. It's not a single player game. Turn it off. You really don't need shadow and lighting in this game. You don't need it. Okay? Screen space shadows off. Spot shadow quality low. Spot cache is something I highly recommend you go ahead and change to high right now, not ultra. Change it to high at this very moment. This is a difference in the game from ultra to high. I used to have this at ultra. I have it at high right now because a lot of people stutter in the game. As you could see in the beginning of my video, there was no stutter in the plane. There was no stutter while I'm dropping. There was no stutter when I landed. There was no stutter while I'm playing my game. So I recommend that you keep this at high. It plays a very big role with NVIDIA's control panel settings that I showed earlier on. Okay? Particle lighting off. Ambient occlusion off, always off. Switch it off. Fucking leave it off. Done. Okay? Don't put this on. It's not a single player game. You don't need this to be on. Screen space reflections, always off. Static reflection quality, low. Weather grid volumes, low. You do not need to see the fucking weather in this game. You need to see the enemies. Turn it to low. Okay? On plus boost is a highly recommended thing to do. It literally tells you on the right hand side what this does. So it will say low latency mode is now enabled and optimize systems latency. This is why I have my game at on plus boost and my NVIDIA control panel settings like what you saw, what settings I'm using in my NVIDIA control panel. I have this on plus boost as well, alright? Depth of field always off, world motion blur always off, and then weapon motion blur, Right now, at the very moment, there's a lot of people that's saying that this still is a thing where if you turn this on, you won't get stuttering. I have mine off, as you can see, and I don't get stutters. So turn it off. You don't need it to be on. You really don't. Okay? Form grain is your own personal preference. I've seen comments of people saying that they push this up. So I'm not going to say put this on 0.0. I have mine at 0.0. I have better clarity with my game like this, but it's your own personal preference. Alright, so once you're done with this over here, something that plays a very, very big role with these settings after you've changed them. Okay? So I'm just going to say apply settings. I'm just going to leave it like that. You're going to go to interface over here, go to color customization, go to filter 2. It's the best filter in this game right now, and it works perfectly fine. Filter 1, I don't really recommend. You can play around with these filters, but I do recommend filter 2. Keep this at both. You can go to world or interface and choose your own personal one, which one you would want to use, but I do recommend both. This at 100%, this at 100%, and you're going to go to custom and have your enemy at a certain color you want it to be. So any color you want. I have mine at magenta, and it's just a very popping color in this game. I can see my enemies really, really easy. Once you're done with that, this is a very, very important step that you're going to need to do is this over here. You're going to press escape, and you're going to go to graphic settings again. Once you changed all the settings I just showed you now to the settings I showed you, and you are using those settings or your own personal settings right now, you're going to need to restart your shaders, then restart your game so your game can install the shader optimization for those settings that you have changed. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I have my game at custom frame rate limit at unlimited. I don't have them capped. I don't have my lobby capped. I don't have my game capped. I have this at unlimited always because I have it at unlimited in NVIDIA control panel settings as well. Ladies and gentlemen, if this worked for you, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're new here, and become a member on my YouTube channel if you would like to support my YouTube channel. As always, peace out.